Hello, everyone. My name is Marco Demutis, and this is Screenwalks. I am digital curator at Fotomuseum Winterthur in Switzerland. And together with John Uriarte at the Photographers Gallery in London, we have created this collaborative program of fortnightly live-streamed events. Through Screenwalks, we are interested in investigating the changing role of the photographic image in its networked and digital forms. Each event is led by an artist, a researcher, or a curator who takes the audience to the spaces where their core practice takes place. Screenwalks can be a live performance, a showcase of a work in progress, or a guided online tour, among many other formats. We have hosted now more than 50 Screenwalk events, so go and find video recordings of each one of them on our website and a YouTube channel. If you have found Screenwalks useful for your professional or personal interests, do consider subscribing to Folders. For €7 a month, you'll support the program and its artists, and also get your personalized folder on folders.screenwalks.com. There, you'll receive files and extra content from the artists and researchers of Screenwalks. Now, some housekeeping information. Your microphone should be muted to avoid noise disturbances. If it's still on, please mute it now. We are recording and will be archiving this event, so if you don't want to be recorded, please feel free to turn off your camera. Please use the public chat to send any question to tonight's Screenwalk artist, or feel free to send a private message to John or me.
Hello from my side too. I'm John Uriarte, curator of the digital program at the Photographers Gallery in London. Today, we are really excited to have a true Screenwalker with us. We do regret that it has taken us more than 2 years to invite internet performance artist Molly Soda to lead a Screenwalk. She is one of the pioneers of performing the network image and living the network life, which is in a nutshell what we attempt to do with this program. Molly Soda's work is often presented on social media platforms ranging from Tumblr, where she was first known, to YouTube or Instagram, among many others. In the late 2000s, Soda started to post a mix of intimate and satirical thoughts, ideas, and projects that resonated with a community of the platform, gaining major attention and becoming a Tumblr celebrity. Unintendedly, her Tumblr feed became an art project that continued expanding over other platforms, exhibiting her work also in galleries and museums. The teenagers that grew up on the internet of the 2000s have continued to follow her work throughout the internet, where she counts her followers on the hundreds of thousands across many platforms. Her feminist performances dealing with notions of identity, intimacy, consumer and internet culture are considered reference works within the digital and post-internet art. On the Screenwalks today, Soda will introduce her practice focusing on the desktop dump, one of her ongoing projects, thinking on the desktops as containers of mundane, diaristic, and intimate materials. Molly Soda, we are very happy and excited to have you with us today. The screen is yours.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's good to be here. I'm a big fan of Screenwalks, so I'm like, I've been waiting for my invitation, honestly. But I'm gonna talk a little bit about my work and this project, and then we're gonna make a desktop dump together. So hopefully you have files sitting on your desktop that you don't mind uploading. I'm gonna share the Google Drive link now, just so that you can do that as we talk. So basically, feel free to dump an image or two or whatever into this Google Drive folder, and we will, it'll be part of the desktop dump. So if it, think about what you want to use. It can be somewhat anonymous, I suppose. So I'll share my screen. And so our folder is right here. And I'll talk a little bit about my work in general, in case you're not familiar with it. So my name is Amalia Soto. I've been working as the artist Molly Soda since, I guess, 2009. which is funny because Molly Soto was actually my Tumblr username, and maybe wasn't so intentional that it would become my artist name, though maybe, I don't know, it's hard to say. It sort of took on a life of its own, and now people in real life call me Molly, and it makes a lot of sense with the work that I make, and thinking about how we perform ourselves online, and how sometimes thinking about also how I might only know someone via their username, or back in the day, like their Facebook name or something like that. So it feels very fitting in that case. And so I mostly work in performance, video, web-based work. I rely a lot on platforms to host my work. So predominantly YouTube, Instagram, Tumblr, you name it, I've probably done something within that space. And I'm also really interested in the platforms themselves and how they sort of shape, shape the work. And so when I upload a video to YouTube, for example, I'm interested in the suggested videos and the comments and the sort of entire online ecosystem that's surrounding the work. There's a bit of like letting go when I put these things online, because ultimately I'm not in control of my work once I upload it. And same with actually these desktop dumps as well, to a certain degree. So we're just scrolling my website right now. And I started this project, the desktop dump project, back in 2020, the beginning of the pandemic. In May of 2020 was the first one that I made. And I've always been really interested in the desktop as a space. A lot of my work often incorporates like computer or desktop interfaces. Like I like seeing all of that. I also think of the desktop as kind of like the last private thing that we have, because everything that we sort of perform about our lives online eventually becomes this really mediated space. I'm thinking of like the bedroom, for example. Like the bedroom was once this private space, and then what happens when we start to make our domestic spaces public, and how does that often turn into like a highly curated set with these kind of visual markers. Like what does it mean that there's the plant in the background, or like this $60 candle, or how there are these sort of like visual trends. And so I work a lot with that as well, but I really think of the desktop as a space that we often don't get to see, we don't get to see other people's desktops, right? And so I was interested in what would happen if I started to make that space public. And so we can scroll through the actual archive. So this is where I host everything. Weirdly, I don't promote that this archive exists. I think I've talked about it briefly a couple of times, but like this has never really been shown in any context. It just kind of like lives on my website, and if people stumble upon it, that's great. So you would have to click this. Everything on my website is a secret link, so you know, you don't know where you're going to end up. But yeah, so I haven't really talked too much about it, but it was just kind of an exercise to see what would happen, and just like a fun sort of practice. So I'll show you. So basically, anytime that I would want to clean my desktop, for example, I would make myself upload all of it to a website. And I use hot glue to make my desktop dumps, which is like a really cool website sort of software, I suppose, or just like platform, which, because I don't really code, it's great because I can just kind of like upload images to it and collage and move them around. So this is the first one I ever made back in May of 2020. see. And I think what became interesting about doing this process for me was also the fact that in the making of my desktop public, I started to become a little more conscious of what I was saving to the desktop. Like usually a desktop is just like, at least for me, I think everyone treats their desktop wildly differently. I was a little more conscious of what I was saving there because I knew that I was going to then upload it eventually when I went to go clean my desktop, right? So if it was something that maybe I didn't want people to see or maybe felt private, I maybe would not save it, drop it to the desktop when I normally would. Or other times, let's say, for example, these GIFs. I mean, I always kind of download GIFs onto the desktop no matter what, but there are times where I'd be like, oh, this might be cool to include. Let me throw this onto the desktop. So then you find yourself, no matter what, once you start to make something public, you find yourself starting to kind of mediate, right? Or starting to curate. So it never really feels like a true diary, right? And obviously I try and curb those instances, and there are sort of rules I still have with the desktop. There's also limitations. For example, video, if there's video saved to my desktop, I may not be able to upload a really, really long video to hot glue. So then do I then upload it to YouTube to then embed onto the website itself, these sorts of things. What do I do with PDF files? What do I do with like audio files, these sorts of things, figuring out how to work with just like image-based files. So that's been an interesting thing as well. And it does really function as a diary for me because I can kind of know what I was working on when I want to show you one where I was, oh, here's one. Okay. I can kind of know like what was going on based off of what I uploaded, right? So for example, in October of 2020, I was actually taking a tree identification class at the Botanical Garden on Zoom. And so there are all these images of trees on this one because I was saving all of these files to make flashcards with. And I sort of wanted to, I think the idea was to do them every month or so, but they kind of go, they can go a long time, I would say. So maybe I'll show you the most recent one was in July, for example, and we're in November right now. So it's been quite some time since I made one. So I've gathered a lot of content. I believe the most recent one is also the one where I kind of attempted to actually upload my video files that were on the desktop. So there's quite a few video files in this one. And whether I force myself to upload them to YouTube, like you see here, or this is one that's like loading, for example, or I uploaded it to Hot Glue directly if I didn't want to make it public anywhere else. And another note that I want to make before we start is that I have two computers. So this is also They kind of vary greatly depending on the computer that I'm doing the desktop dump for. So this is on a Mac, right? So then we're going to have a lot of webcam footage and content, because that's where I like produce the majority of that content. Also, my screenshots are going to behave a little bit differently on the Mac. It's interesting, like, because I use the computer for different things, obviously there's going to be kind of like a different feel. Right now we're on my PC laptop because it is a better computer. So for the purposes of today, it makes sense. And these can, I mean, these can get really large and extensive. And I sort of force myself to post every single thing, no matter what it is. The only rules I have about things that I will not post is if it, you know, has personal information or is something for like a job that isn't my art practice, if that makes sense, if it's like a day job related thing. So has anyone been up? Okay, so we have one image uploaded to the Google Drive.
We have more than one.
Oh, we do? Oh, I have to refresh. Hopefully. Oh, wow. Okay, sick. Wow. Okay, this is a lot. This is good. This is plenty. So maybe I'll just have them join me on my desktop right now. I'll give you like a little bit of time. Let me just I'll set up the page right now, and then I'll download them. So this is a pretty long process. We'll see how far we get today. I obviously like to have them somewhat, you know, I like to consider the aesthetics of it. Like, I don't just purely drop a bunch of files in. I like to like create something that feels aesthetically pleasing to a certain degree. And so there is, I don't know, it can take a second to kind of sort through all of that. This is the back end of Hot Glue. And I would like to create a new page. Here we go. So the way that I would write this is DD 11 2022 and then PC. I think I'll make that small for now so we can take a look at the desktop, and I'm going to download all of these. Thank you for uploading. Wow, this is sick. This is great. Okay, so I'm going to do one more refresh and then I'm going to download. I also just love that the file names are like deeply chaotic, which is like how I like things to feel on the desktop. Save that to the desktop. And let's find it now and unzip it. Great. Okay, beautiful. So I'm just going to drag that here. And now we begin. Okay, great. So usually the way that I do this is I kind of just kind of like feel it out. I will say the one downside, and if anyone has a solution to this, feel free to chime in. The one downside to using a PC for this kind of thing is that you cannot label images the way that you can on a Mac, like the way that you can sort of right click something and color code it, because that's really helpful for me determining what I've already used, because it gets like a little hectic. So that's like can be a little bit confusing, but usually what I do is I create a folder, and anything that I've used I kind of like drag in there. It's a whole process. So so maybe we'll do a user sent image first. So it looks like a globe in a laundry, in a washer. Okay, great, 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 great. And yeah, just kind of like, just kind of let it intuitively happen. This is another user submitted image. Another issue that I'll run into a lot is when I have taken a succession of screenshots or selfies or something like that. This happens a lot where I'll have kind of like a lot of images from the same like shoot, and I won't want to upload them all, but I have to find a way to sort of incorporate them and make them feel good. So I already know that this series of images with the green square around my face are going to frustrate me deeply. I just love a really textured sort of like makeup PNG. Just like that just like is so satisfying to me. So for example, like this image, there's like many copies of it, right? But they're just like slightly different sizes. And I'm really like, I don't know, I'm like weirdly strict about like it needing to be there, even though no one knows or cares. It's just like these like tasks that I assign myself, right? I also did a bit of prep actually before we got started, because this is another, this is great. This is another user image. So I download quite a bit of images off of Tumblr. I'll open up my file explorer or finder, if you will. And a really fun and annoying thing that Tumblr does now is makes it so that GIFs are WebP files now. And I don't know who decided to make things WebP. I feel like WebP is the worst thing that ever happened to like images online. It's just like a horrible format and I can't do anything with it. And so anytime I download a GIF off of Tumblr, which is quite a bit, when I'm surfing, I have to, before I want to upload them to my desktop dumps, I have to turn them into GIF files, right? Because they download it as WebP files. So so before today's screen walk, I went ahead and changed all of these. So anything with the file name EasyGIF was converted before today. So that's quite a bit actually. It's really frustrating. I don't know why that happened. I guess so people can't like save stuff. It just doesn't make sense because it's only for GIFs on Tumblr at least. So yeah, not great. But it does save us a bit of time to not have to do that right now. I'm loving people's images that they submitted. I want to make sure that everything feels, yeah, let's have that go over a little bit. Also, this is going to be pretty like, you know, chill. So if people want to like ask questions or chat or anything, I'm open to that, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say. We ran into our first WebP.
I have a question from the audience asking if you ever write words to accompany the dumps.
Never. No. I've written about the desktop a little bit yeah, I've written about the desktop itself, but I've never really written about these like particular desktop dumps, I suppose. You know, as an artist, maybe I'm going on a like rant here, but I really want, my biggest want as an artist is for someone else to write very thoughtfully about my work. That's like what I would hope, that I don't have to do all of the labor around all like the making of the work, I guess, even though that's what I usually end up doing. But I'm enjoying a Diet Coke right now. So, but anyway, yeah.
And there's someone is asking if the pandemic, how the pandemic has changed your work. I was going to ask if it has changed it in any case or in any way, but it's specifically asking how.
Definitely. Yeah, I don't think I would have even started working on this had the pandemic not happened. I think, sorry, I'm just making a folder for everything that's been used already. I think that the pandemic changed my work because actually prior to my work has always been pretty web-based, but prior to the pandemic, I was making a lot of physical work. I mean, not like a lot, but for me, a lot. And so it really kind of forced me back online or made me more interested in making work that was accessible online, especially making like nonlinear websites or more web-based work. I also like put up all my most of my zines online and started this project. So I think it just made me more interested in, or maybe a little more refocused in what I was already interested in, but really thinking, because before I was thinking a little bit more for physical space for a gallery, for example. And once that was sort of not on the table anymore, I really felt a little bit more focused on making work for the internet that could only really make sense or only really feel good for you to access via your own personal computer, via like your room, for example. And that I've always sort of been interested in that, but I think it just sort of reaffirmed a lot of those thoughts that I had already had. I feel like sometimes the best thing to do is lay down some of the larger images first. And then kind of bring in the smaller GIFs.
Hi, I have a quick question. You said in the very beginning about the curation when it is becoming a public space, like anything. And I quite like this point. I had a question from a friend recently about Be Real. Do you know the app?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like something similar to me, the way you start to govern your day-to-day life when it starts to be public. Does it resonate to you somehow?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't use Be Real, but I think that no matter what, you can't really, I think the minute that you kind of make something public, it starts to become, there's some mediation happening there, right? Like I could be having a great time, right? Like dancing alone in my room, listening to music, no one's watching me, right? But the second I turn like a camera on, even if I like want to get there, I can't get there anymore. It's not the same because I'm like thinking about myself being thought about or being watched, right? So I think that no matter what, even with something like Be Real, which like the name is so funny, right? I think we're so obsessed with things being real or realistic or authentic or honest or vulnerable or whatever online, especially. I feel like those terms are thrown around a lot. Relatable. And I think that those things are nice ideas, but I think ultimately it's still being performed. I think about that a lot also with like, I mean, I'm working on sort of a new body of work that has to do with the way that we kind of perform our chores online, or like the mundane online, thinking specifically about like routine videos, about cleaning videos, like these sort of daily acts of maintenance, and like when they're put through that kind of what happens when we start to perform them for each other online, and how does that become its own kind of like language and like filming style and aesthetic and all of these things. So I think Be Real, I think a lot of these apps maybe try to solve some of these problems, but at the end of the day, like that's just like the nature of being online, isn't it? Or like you just you start to perform yourself, and whether that's you performing a character or a highly aestheticized video, or whether you're rejecting that notion, there's still a performance, right?
And someone is asking if we are going through some like screen fatigue somehow. So like linking what you were talking about right now, and if we should somehow balance in between in real life and online life. And also asking if Web 3.0 with Web 3.0 will be the solution to all of these problems.
Probably not. No, I mean, can anyone define what Web3 is for me? Because I would love to know what people think that is. I feel like for me, I feel like it's a word that people throw around a lot, but I don't know that anyone actually like knows what. I don't really know that Web3 or what it's doing right now is really doing anything different than already existing structures, right? So I don't know. I think it's hard. I think about my own relationship to the internet and the platforms that I'm on, right? And I think about how reliant I am on those platforms, but also how it's such a weird love-hate relationship between them, because obviously like I resent a lot of these spaces that I exist in, and I'm critical of them, but also my work is reliant on them to exist and to distribute it. And I don't know if I don't know. You know, I think I don't know about Web3, I guess. I would like to hear someone else's thoughts though, if anyone has any.
Hi, sorry, I just have a quick question, but it's nothing to do with Web 3.0 because I also have no idea.
That's great.
Sorry. I just wondered actually how you came to use like an artist name. I'm like, as in like, sorry, like Molly Soda. Because
Yeah.
I'm currently an art student, and I guess I'm really quite curious about like why and how this alternative artist name comes to be, and I guess the influence it has, if anything, upon your life and work and how they connect and things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't super intentional, I guess. I mean, it was obviously. So Molly Soda was my username on Tumblr, and it was intentional. It was thought out to a certain degree, right? My real name is Amalia Soto. It was a play on that. I was really into, I was thinking about sort of like old MySpace usernames. Like if you think about like Tila Tequila or some like early sort of MySpace scene queen, micro internet celebrities, right? So I was thinking about those sort of usernames, and then I was also really into Lydia Lunch at the time, and still am. And I remember just like wanting something like that. But I was also, when I made this name, I was what, like 19, 20. And so I wasn't like totally thinking about it having a future or living beyond me. And ultimately, maybe if my Tumblr hadn't have been as popular, maybe I would be going by Amalia Soto now, right? As Amalia Soto, sorry, as my artist name. So, but I think for me, I really wanted to, it wasn't so much that I wanted to work with a persona. I think people misunderstood that at first. It was never really like a performance project where I was doing a character. It was just the way that anyone performs themselves online via a username or anything really. So, but I do think it allowed me like a level of, I don't know, maybe like protection or like distance from like my real life to my online life. And it wasn't until it started to kind of, I started to become known as Molly Soda, that it started to kind of infiltrate my real life. And now probably more people refer to me as Molly than my actual name, for better or for worse. I can hear my cat like very quietly snoring behind me. They've been pretty tame, all things. Oh, I like this. Whoever uploaded this. This is like a good background image. Yeah, this definitely won't be finished today. I think we would have to go for like hours. I will finish it though and share it, but we'll see how far we get.
I was thinking about something in the opposite direction of Web3, maybe to Web1, because there's a lot of images that are reminiscent also. And then when we talk also about platforms like Tumblr and Hot Glue, I was just wondering if nostalgia plays any role in your practice, or if there's something that you think about. I think now we just heard about, like platforms like Be Real or things like that. How do you feel about the kind of speed of things changing? How do you relate to these different and newer platforms compared to the ones we are using? And then there's like a reason why, like you're using these specific platforms.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to be really careful with nostalgia, right? Because I never want to, obviously, I think there are a lot of nostalgic elements to my work, probably because I grew up at a certain time on the internet and I'm still like attracted to those things the same way like someone else who is younger than me would be attracted to like a whole different set of things, right? A whole different markers. Like I like certain aesthetic things. I also am obsessed with saving them because I don't know where they will go eventually, right? So like my use of like MySpace glitter graphics or something, like those websites like in a lot of ways are useless. People don't have MySpace anymore, right? And so I'm always thinking like, okay, well I better start hoarding all these graphics and saving them because eventually they're not going to be around. So I think that factors into it. But I think I always want to be really careful about kind of the use of nostalgic elements as just simply saying this happened. Like something fails for me in the realm of nostalgia where all that the thesis is like, well, like, remember that this happened, like, remember this, and then everyone's like, yes, I remember this, and then we move on. And so I want to think about it not from that point of view, but actually how all these things are threaded together, right? And so I'm thinking a lot about the ways in which all of these movements online, all of these images, all of these performed identities, all of these platforms, the ones that are gone to the ones that are existing now, how they're all sort of linked, right? Like, and how all of this stuff, it can be a little bit cyclical, and how it kind of builds upon itself or each other, right? So something may feel outdated, but it might directly have a lineage to something that's like currently happening. I mean, even think about the resurgence of GIFs, right? But also the way that GIFs have been totally, you know, there was like a period of time where like no one cared about GIFs, right? And now GIFs are like a reaction. They're constantly being used. Giphy has completely monopolized and honestly made it very, very boring to find GIFs. Like, it's much harder to access some of this stuff, right? It's totally flattened it. And or thinking about how even Tumblr manages GIFs now, everything is a WebP file. And so I don't know, I feel like I'm going off on a tangent, but I'm just saying, like, all of these things are linked. Or even thinking about like maybe the nostalgia that I had for MySpace scene queens when I was starting my Tumblr, but then how, you know, e-girls on TikTok, e-girls a little bit dated at this point, but like are also directly influenced by like Tumblr girls, right? So there's like a lineage happening, right? Like we're constantly kind of like taking these older things, restructuring them once they become, okay, this is my other point. Sorry, I'm like really going on a tangent now, but there is a thing that happens, right? For like everyone, I need to like keep working, but where everything eventually becomes uncool, correct? Everything that is once deemed cool will eventually not be cool anymore. And this is both comforting and frustrating. And there is a period of time in the kind of couple of years after something becomes uncool that we really, really want to distance ourselves from it, right? And then it hits that sweet spot where it suddenly, enough time has passed that we're no longer kind of like find it embarrassing or cringe or humiliating or whatever you want to say, right? And we start to embrace it again, and maybe we reinterpret that, and that nostalgia comes back into play, right? And so everything eventually cycles back, but there is always this weird period of time where we really, really want to distance ourselves from that thing. And I think that period of time to me is the most interesting and what I really like to lean into, I suppose, in my own work.
So do you see yourself as an archivist of this like digital folklore somehow? So it's not only about performing in front of the screen or performing on the internet, but also archiving all these internet materials that show up on your screen.
Yes, but I'm not a very good archivist. Like, I'm messy, I'm sloppy. I like don't have a great method. This is one method, but it's not foolproof. I mean, hot glue servers they could stop using it, right? Or
Yeah,
they could stop hosting me.
That was my next, in fact, follow-up question. If you like keep all these files also on hard drives or you rely entirely on online platforms?
I do, but it's not going to look the same as it would on, like, I keep all the files, but I may not have like the like, I don't have like the HTML for it, the code for it. So I do rely on the platforms quite a bit. It's also out of like, just there's not enough hours in the day for me to archive everything that I make as well. If I were operating at a larger scale, perhaps, you know, I would have people helping me or something of that nature. But yeah, but I'm interested in archives. I want other people to be too, because I'm only, you know, saving what I think is interesting. That's such a small window of the internet, right? But at this, it's like I'm both interested in archives, but I'm also like, just let it go and like see what happens. So I think there's a little bit of both happening there. Another WebP. I promise I will convert the WebPs. I just don't. I don't feel like we have time to do this right now. I want to include more of your images though. Yeah, this is great. I don't know if it's like helpful for me to talk about any of these specific images. We can also do that. This has been collected over a long period of time, so they're definitely for like different projects. Like some of these are like thumbnails for like a promotional thing I did back in the summer, for a performance I did rather. A lot of the GIFs are just randomly, I mean, it's just randomly kind of collected over just from surfing. But usually a lot of the stuff that I have saved to the desktop is usually related to a project of some sort that I'm like starting to cobble together. So like recently I've been doing, let's see if I can find an example of this. Recently I've been doing these live stream performances, and where I kind of have like a fake bedroom set up that people can then move things around in. And for example, like this water bottle image is part of that. So there'll be a lot of like images that would make sense, like that are like kind of like objects that would maybe perhaps like go in a room, right?
Anna is asking if desktop dumps are photo-based only. What happens to the PDFs or videos or other formats that you save to your desktop, or you just don't?
Oh yeah, so PDFs, when they get uploaded, I don't know if I have any on my desktop currently, but I can show let's go back to my website. I can show what would happen with a PDF, for example. And then I'll show what happens with, I have a video saved to the desktop, so we can actually go through that process right now. So for a PDF, I think there's PDFs in this first one. Yeah, so when a PDF gets uploaded to Hot Glue, it just looks like this PDF thumbnail. And so if I were to click on it, it would download onto my computer. I don't know if it would do the same on a Mac, but let's say I download it, we'll save it to the desktop, and then I would open it, and this is an essay called The Trouble with Wilderness, which is a great essay. And so it would just be like a little thumbnail. It's a little sad because they're really kind of small and hidden, and you can't really like change the look of them. Though I would like, if I had a little more control, maybe I would do that. And then for video, we can actually do that right now. So on my desktop, there is a piece that I made. Let's find her. It's like very cluttered in here. Let me open up my folder. Okay. Okay, so here's the only video piece that's on the desktop right now. And this is a piece called My Apology that I did back in May or June, late May, right? So to do something with this one, I would either upload it to Hot Glue itself, or I would upload it to YouTube or a different platform. Luckily, I already have it uploaded to YouTube. So what I'll do is just go to YouTube. This is also another very intimate space that no one sees, is your YouTube recommended algorithm. This is also a very intimate thing to look at, right? Anyway, so I'll take the video off of YouTube. Here it is, and I'll embed it. I think I just need the link for Hot Glue, so I'll copy the link. We'll go to embed a YouTube video, press OK. Oh, okay, let's get a different link for that. Okay. And then it'll create for some reason I cannot move it. No, there's got to be a way to move it. There normally is. I don't know why it's not doing that. It's fine. It can just live there. That's fine. But yeah, I'll just embed the YouTube. And normally with Hot Glue, you can, oh yeah, here we go. Not sure how to move it though. But it's not the biggest deal right now. So normally with Hot Glue, you can just like embed a YouTube video and it's you're good to go. So that's what I do. And then with audio files, which I don't actually think I have a MIDI file on here. Should we try? Yeah, here, Memory from Cats the Musical MIDI. So yeah, it just uploads as this little guy, the same way as a PDF. I'll keep it here, and then I mean, it's even really hard to have MIDI on like modern computers. I feel like you can't really just like open a MIDI file. You go through like GarageBand or some other, I think VLC will play them. But it's just interesting how things start to become harder to open. They become obsolete, right? Like my computer's response when I open, let's see if I'm on an old GeoCities website, right? My computer's response is to immediately download the MIDI file because it doesn't know what to do with it. It can't play it on the website anymore, right? I don't know where, sometimes when I upload something onto here and I like don't know what to do with it, I just kind of move it to the bottom and deal with it later. I really want to clean a bit of this up because I feel like it would be nice. I'm having a hard time figuring out what I've already used. Anyway, I'll keep plugging away. Does anyone here keep like a really tidy desktop? Hmm.
in the meantime, the chat has become a big sharing space for people.
I know, I'm reading.
Do you want to read them out loud just for those who are in Twitch and cannot see this?
Yes.
Or you want this to be like a safe space?
Well, I guess people are saying, no, I go through phases, but it always returns to chaos. My desktop is actually the folder where screenshots are saved automatically. Yeah, that's actually a good point, is that on a Mac, at least, initially speaking, screenshots are saved automatically to it. I think you can change that though, because I've been able to change, like reroute them before. I know with a Windows, for example, like it would be super different if screenshots were being saved to my Windows desktop, but instead they're in their own folder on like my pictures folder. So, you know, none of my screenshots are ever really making it to the desktop dumps on the Windows, but then on the Mac they are. So then it just kind of changes the nature. It's like the nature of the computer also, or the way that the computer is sort of built or programmed, it also changes what appears on the desktop, right? Or I like to have a very organized and categorized desktop. My desktop is quite tidy, but my file system itself, no. Yeah, I have a tidy desktop because I render a lot. Got to keep it functioning. Yeah, I like the aesthetics of keeping it onto the desktop as well. I think the only time I don't like it is when I'm like, oh, I just closed it. All right, we'll go back. The only time I don't like it is when I'm like recording video on the desktop, but I also am taking screenshots while I record. I think that's really the only time, but honestly, that's pretty rare. But it happens sometimes. Every time I have Haku, I have to log in twice. It's just like the rule, I guess. So let's find it. DD11 2022. Great, we're back. So this is a pretty good start, I would say. I'm honestly pretty pleased with it. I didn't see the vision initially, but it's looking pretty good to me. Trying to think about what else would feel good here. I think this Super 8 camera was used for like a flyer for something. Oh, I've really distorted it, haven't I? Let's upload that again. Where is she? Okay, we'll upload something different, I suppose. This file is called Candles and Chess. Someone uploaded this for us. I like it. I'm gonna put it over here. And you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna stick some candles next to it. Yeah, this candle is part of the live stream performance. Do a couple more candles. We have quite a few. Another one. I think for me, what makes a perfect desktop dump is the perfect amount of PNG, GIF, and like JPEG files. Like, I want there to be something that feels like there's a lot of texture to it, or like if I only had non-transparent images, I feel like it would look quite boring. So it feels good to like have things kind of like layered on top of each other in this way. And I feel like there have been times, I can't point to the exact desktop where this has happened, but I feel like there have been times where I've been like, I have way too many PNG, like non-transparent images, like just flat images, right? I need to go find GIFs or transparent images to like flesh this out a little bit more. And like maybe that's when I'll intentionally kind of surf Tumblr and save stuff. Not all the time, but I feel like there have been instances where that has occurred. So that's just like the nature of what happens. I feel like when you start to make things public is like you just start to futz with it a little bit more, right? It just starts to happen. This I like. Yeah, I think the reason I just don't have that many screenshots in general on this computer is because it doesn't save them to here. But in general, I don't really screenshot my messages very often. I also refuse to use my phone's like chat, like text message function. I refuse to use that on my desktop computer. I just feel like it's like inappropriate. Not like inappropriate, but like yeah, like what happens on my phone feels very, 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 very separate from my desktop. And I actually really don't like using my phone for yeah, like for surfing or for doing anything on the web, really, even though obviously I'm like on apps pretty consistently. When I was in art school and we shared the library computers, I would screenshot the chaotic desktop and set this fresh screenshot as the new desktop background and put all the folders in a new one. Oh, that's really good. I love that. So I'm probably gonna keep going for a little bit longer. I'm sorry we didn't finish it today. It was ambitious. If I didn't upload your image though, and you want me to right now, I can do that. I just have to find it. Let's see if I can find more of these user images. I feel like this didn't need a home yet. Okay, here's some stuff. Uploaded. Did anyone upload any GIFs, or is it mostly like, I mean, I'm really liking this. I'm really liking what people posted. Oh, here. I actually know a person who has a genuine phobia of messy desktops or unorganized files. I think it's kind of connected to fear of disorder in general, but she gets really frustrated when she sees my desktop of my downloads folder almost starting shaking. Oh yeah. That's how I feel when I see that someone has a bunch of unread emails or text messages, that like, that there's like something within, like the desktop, I'm like, this is playful, this is fun, this is a like, aesthetically I enjoy that like clutter, but when it's like text-based communication, there's something about it that like really, like I have to have everything, like I can't have a notification, if that makes sense, like this chat, for example. Yeah, this isn't right either. I think another thing that I have to be aware, now that I've started uploading everything online, for example, another thing that I have to be cognizant of is that often when I upload it online, and I save everything to like my desktop dump archive folder and whatnot. Oh, another WebP. I might forget to save them to the folders that I originally wanted to save them to, because all of these things on my desktop have like a home, right? But then when I put them in the desktop dump archive, they just get saved to the archive folder and then like tucked away, and they don't actually end up at the place where they were like meant to actually go. So there's like a second layer of organizing that has to happen. And it might take me months to go back to like my desktop dump archive folders and then like sort all of those files out, if that makes sense. This, for example, I'm not really sure why I saved this screenshot to my desktop, but it's here. Maybe we can put this here.
Molly, I feel that we could look at this forever. I'm just wondering, do you already have an idea of how long would or like in general, like how long do these things take you? Do you have like a rule for yourself on when you start, when are they supposed to be finished?
I try and get them done in the same day that I start them, but so it might take me days. Like it just kind of depends like how much time I have allotted. And usually it's something that I'm really passively doing. So like, you know, this is the first time I've like made it live, right? But normally I'm like watching TV and like, you know, just like, it's like, I'm like, this is my job today and I'm going to do this. And it might take me like, and I might get up and take breaks. I might, you know, it might take like a week. I might come back to it throughout like the week or whatever, but I try and usually finish it pretty closely to when I start it. So for example, like, you know, I've started this, right? And I'll probably finish it in the next week, I would say. Also, I will say I never announce when I finish one or post them. So like, if you want to look at them, you have to just go to my website, find the archive, and like hope that it's there.
Don't
I
worry,
like
we
don't
will
really
be checking.
publicize it. What?
We will be checking.
Yeah, I'll share the link as well, and it'll get updated over time. But I think we can probably wrap up unless people have questions or anything.
I think
Sure.
there's one question in the chat. Do you think answering non-work email immediately and dealing with notification ASAP is FOMO or due diligence?
I think it's neither. I think it's probably wanting to be a people pleaser in a weird way, or like feeling overwhelmed. I don't think it's either, honestly. I think there's just something, it's like a needing to have it done so that you don't have to think about it anymore. Does that make sense? Like, even though like what I should do often in these cases is like let it go and be like, okay, I'll deal with this tomorrow, but it's something about it is like, I have to deal with it right now, even if it's like not an appropriate time.
Or some really uncontrollable anxiety, as Anna says as well on the chat. So maybe as we are talking about getting things done, I guess that we have taken already a lot of your time, Molly. So maybe we can wrap it up here, unless there's any last question. But yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking us through your desktop and also showing us your desktop dumps. It's been also really nice to have all these people uploading the screenshots to the Drive folder. So thank you so much also to the audience who has joined us today.
Also, thank you so much from my side too. I really enjoyed, this kind of performative moments in which we were like looking at, how all these images were coming together, and like the conversations that you had with us and with the audience felt like a really, really great moment. And also the chat becoming this, I think you really touched a nerve on a few of the things that the desktop represents for many people. And I particularly enjoyed the rant on WebP images, because I feel that's something that we all felt and never heard anyone saying it. It's true. Like, who came up with that? Nobody's talking about it.
Yeah. I think it's Google who came up with that. But anyway, we'll leave that maybe for another scheme, but we should focus on criticizing that format. Thank you so much, Molly. Again, thank you. It's been